football show powered by EP Sports. EP Sports is one of the top suppliers in the UK for all your NFL merchandise. Check them out today at epsports.co.uk. And please remember that wherever you're listening from, if you do like listening to us, give us a comment, a like, and a subscribe. It really does help us out. But on to the NFL. So week one of the regular season is in the books. Some very surprising results. Aaron Rodgers potentially partially retiring at least. The Bengals are above the Browns and the Ravens in their division, which no one saw coming. And no team in a Western division lost the game, which I think is the first time that's happened in week one. But yeah, it was a pretty good week of football, boys.
Definitely was. There's some really good games there.
Yeah, as you say, surprising results, which didn't help our predictions too well at all. A lot of red on our spreadsheet, but hopefully this week things go back to normal.
I did call the Bengals by 3 though, which I'm really
quite a few shockers. Like you had the Texans come out swinging. You had the Titans sort of fall short. You had Aaron Rodgers sort of just decide not to show up at all.
Worst performance ever.
Yeah. I think got 2 points on fantasy.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, it
didn't help Justin, who had him as his QB.
Yeah, man, I was just like, I watched it. I was like, he threw that one in, and it was just into the backfield with someone caught. I was like, it looked like he just like meh.
Yeah, it seems a little bit like that. There's a bit of conspiracy going around that he's imploding the organization, but
it would be very funny if he was like, yeah, screw him, I'm going to do it from the inside.
Yeah.
But we'll go for a bit of news. So some obviously injuries just seem more since COVID's hit, but more people getting picked up. So the Saints have signed wide receiver Kenny Stills. Speaking of the Saints, they've also had a COVID outbreak, which is not surprising after they decided to go play in Florida. But I think it was six positive tests. It was like 4 coaches, 1 nutritionist, and it was an unnamed player for a while. And then it turns out it was the one and only Mr. Catches Everything, Michael Thomas.
Yeah, it wasn't surprising, was it, when that player came out? You were just like, if you could pick one Saints player that would have caught it, Michael Thomas all day.
Yeah, I don't know why. When I saw that come out in the news, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, he's going to get traded. And it's like, why does him being put on the COVID list imply he wants to be traded?
Yeah, it's a COVID list for a reason.
Other news, though, Odell Beckham's been ruled out for the second week in a row, which makes you think, were they ever planning on playing him against the Chiefs, or were they just trying to send a smokescreen?
Possibly. Try and get in the head a little bit.
Yeah.
The Manning cast was successfully broadcast the first time on the Raiders-Ravens game, where Eli and Peyton brought on some guests. I watched the highlights. I always like Peyton Manning. Eli's a nice guy as well. They got some great guests. They had Ray Lewis on. They had Charles Barkley, and they had Russell Wilson. So it was really it was easy listening.
Yeah, it was really good for just like information and learning the game. I think was it Russell Wilson who said that he was meant to be watching tape? Or
they were like, because it went into overtime.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I gotta go. It's like, you can't stick around. He's like, well, I'm meant to be watching game tape, but I'll stay.
Yeah, he said he was like learning more hanging around with them than watching tape.
Talking about that, because I know you watched a little bit of our game, Joe. Greg Olsen as an announcer, really, really impressive his first game.
Yeah, I was actually, I really enjoyed listening to him. He's just got one of those voices. As I said, I completely thought it was like the Athletic podcast host, Robert Mays, which is what I said in the group. And they sound, I honestly can't begin to explain how identical the two guys sound. Even he was tweeting about it on this thing saying it's not me. It is Greg Olsen. But no, he was fantastic.
It's a bit like Tony Romo. It's like whenever there's a player coming in as an analyst, you like it more because they tell you little things you'd never hear about. Because when Zach Ertz did a rub route and then the Falcons did 2, but they didn't do it well. It was like, I was a tight end. This is how you got to do it.
Yeah, it's just that insight that you need, isn't it? And hopefully more players keep going that way.
speaking of good players, TJ Watt got a mammoth extension, 4 years, 80 mil guaranteed, 112 million potential. I think it makes him the highest paid defensive player in the league.
I think we all knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It would have. I couldn't have seen them letting him go without at least trying to keep him in the building, and I don't think he wants to go anywhere else.
No, he seems happy, doesn't he?
You can't let TJ Watt walk.
No.
He's the most important player in that franchise. Just full stop. You just got to pay him what he wants.
And also the Cowboys right tackle Liam Collins has been suspended for 5 games due to missing drug testing due to COVID protocol. So I think he is appealing it, but it does not look good for the Cowboys line, who's already missing another player I can't think of the name of. But yeah, when a team needs their offensive line to play, like you saw Zeke didn't do much all game because he had to be pass blocking.
Mm.
And of course, we'll move on to the injuries list, which was, I mean, if you compare it to last year, not too bad, but it's still pretty brutal. So a couple of big names. Marcus Davenport, tackle for the Saints. He's damaged his pec. He's out for a few weeks. Jerry Jeudy with a high ankle sprain. Looked a lot worse. I don't know if you saw it, but his whole leg got twisted underneath him. So happy. I think he's out for 4 or 6 weeks, which is better than expected. Fitzpatrick for the Red Washington team. He's got a hip subluxation, which I had to Google. And it basically means it's not a dislocation, but it's been knocked out of the socket a bit, which sounds horrendous. And it's probable to be a season ender. Raheem Mostert has got knocked some bone loose in his knee. He's out for the season for the Niners. Jason Verrett as well there. Cornerbacks down with an ACL tear. Jeffrey Okudah, the Lions cornerback, I think he was their first string. He's out with an Achilles tear. Marshawn Lattimore injured his thumb, but he was still playing on it when they put in a cast and he came off the second half, so I'm not sure what's happening there. Michael Gallup's out for the Cowboys with a calf injury. Mekhi Becton's out with a kneecap problem. I think that's only a couple of weeks, so not a season ender.
4 to 6, I think it was. Yeah, dislocated kneecap.
Which is bad. The Jets and Ravens so far are definitely getting the brunt of the injuries.
Rotten luck. I
think they also lost safety Lamarcus Joyner as well with a tricep tear. And Gerald McCoy, who's getting around Raiders, he's just been announced to, was it an ACL tear?
No, he ruptured his quad, which is now the second season-ending injury in a row. Because he was at the Cowboys, wasn't he?
He's old.
Yeah, he was at the Cowboys. He did it before last season, so the Cowboys released him, goes to the Raiders, 1 game, and I think it was only 9 snaps he played, and then he's done.
But yeah, blessed be to the football gods. Pray for the knees. Hope there's no more injuries.
As long as long it's obviously nasty for anyone to get injuries, but as long as we don't hit the heights that we did last year.
Having said that, I think the Ravens, you had like 5 major injuries in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's pretty rough. Anyway, on to other things. We'll move on to our predictions for next week. We normally have Tim to do this. Obviously, he's still away on holiday. So who wants to go over the scores from last week?
Good shout. I've got them open, so I don't mind going for it. So last week was, even though there was a lot of shocks, we actually did relatively okay. There is quite a lot of red. Adam, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 correct scores and correct results and 1 correct score, giving you 10.
Bengals.
Yeah, you got the Bengals correct, which was impressive. Craig, you got 8 correct results. So you actually did quite well. You had one of the highest correct results, but just those lack of correct scores let you down. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct results and 2 correct scores, which sort of carried me, gave me 11 points. And then Tim had 4 correct results and 2 correct scores. And me and Tim both got the Panthers by 5. He got the 49ers by 8, and I got the Chargers by 4.
I think I swayed you to the Chargers as well.
Yes, last minute I had Washington by 4 and I changed, and I couldn't be happier.
But yeah, I mean, I think last year you kind of go into it like this is going to be fun, let's do it. But then I think we realised early on this year, no, we are actually playing for something.
Yeah.
And no bold predictions. I love that interception in the Dolphins-Pats game.
That honestly, Tua. I mean, I was happy, obviously.
Jumped out my seat, mate. I was like, fucking yes.
Because it was possibly the worst interception of the whole weekend. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, he proper juggled it, catching it as well.
Yeah, oh, it was just, but it was, yeah, great defense.
But let's move in to week 2. So how we do this is we still preview each game, but we touch on the previous game so that we're not having 20-hour-long episodes. We'll start off with the Thursday night football game, which is an NFC East matchup, which we all love to see. And we've got the New York Giants heading to Washington to play their football team. So both teams come off losses here. The Giants struggled against the Broncos, who have, as I said, good defense. And the Giants defense struggled to handle Teddy Bridgewater, who had a really good game. I don't know whether it's Bridgewater having a really good game or the Giants giving him it. It could be both. But in order to succeed against Washington, the offensive line, but they had an all right game, and they're going to need to still improve because it wasn't an excellent game when they're about to go up against Washington, who've got easily one of the most vaunted D-lines in the league. Daniel Jones, he does always play well against Washington, granted. I know the subreddit always put up like a weekly thing where they just pretend they're playing Washington because he does well. But yeah, I think he's the fastest player to 30 fumbles in NFL history. In 28 games, he's had 30 fumbles, which is ridiculous. I mean, if you saw the fumble as well, it was just classic Daniel Jones. He had to scramble, ran forward, got the first down, and boom, the fumble. Offense does have playmakers to win, though. Coaching really needs to step up, though. Jason Garrett he's just not playing, not coaching well enough for them. It's just a very wanky offense where they do one deep pass and then they just really short little screen passes and things and get nowhere and abandon the run. Defensively, the Giants played, like I said, it's hard to judge whether they played badly or Bridgewater played well. But I don't doubt that they can turn it around, especially against Washington, whose offense obviously takes a big step back, you'd think, with Fitzception leaving with that hip injury, and Heineke as the presumed starter. Fortunately, with Gibson and McLaurin, obviously two really good skilled players. I think we saw that crazy stat. McLaurin's played like a different quarterback every 3 games on average, which is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, defensively, as I said, Washington is still a top team. Justin Herbert beat them purely because he had some really, really crazy throws on them. And whilst Daniel Jones does play well against Washington, I can't see them taking the defense down here. I've got Washington by 4.
Yeah, for me, everything points to a Washington win. However, because the Giants did the double over them twice, and I was historically looking back on our predictions, I was the only one to back the Giants in both those games, and they won it for me. So I would feel like a traitor, even though I think Washington are going to win. I've got the Giants to win by 3.
I've also gone Giants by 3. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of question marks on the Giants, but at the same time, Washington are without a QB now, and they're relying on Heineke. And
who nearly beat Brady in the playoffs.
True.
That is true. But you're also talking about a team that they play against a lot and should theoretically know them well. And to an extent should be built to withstand that. They also try to run the ball a lot with Saquon, which would chew a lot of clock up and not really give them a lot of time to attempt to sort
questionable,
I guess. But yeah, I'm going to go Giants on this one. Giants by 3.
Okay. Speaking of the Washington team, Cam Newton, what do we think?
I asked you about this today, didn't I? I think they could take a punt on him.
Put points to everything. Ron loves his old Panthers players. Just lost a starting quarterback. Patriots, they just dropped their starting quarterback.
Yeah, why not? I don't see, Cam showing that he's a great teammate. He's a good player to have in the locker room as well. I'd take the risk 100%.
I don't think they do. I think if you've got Scary Terry, you need a deep threat, and Cam can't throw that deep ball anymore.
Very true.
But let's move on to game 2, which was Saints at Panthers, Joe.
Yeah, so both teams are coming into this game 1-0. This is an NFC South matchup. Last time out for the Panthers, it was a comfortable 19-14 win. To be honest, the best thing from that game was the CGI Panther that they had running around. I hope that makes a return this week because that was great. Someone made a comment, because it just jumped out the stadium and people are like, that's quite terrifying. Like the Panther looks like it's just exited and is going around Charlotte. So I hope it's not been doing any killings or anything. So yeah, Darnold had a nice game against his old side, and their defense showed up as well, Carolina, which is nice because we know they've had those issues in the last draft. They took all defensive players, so it's nice to see that sort of investment that they've put come to fruition. And CMC looked like he hadn't been away, nearly 100 yards for him, which was good, and for one of my fantasy teams. The Saints, they thrashed the Packers 38-3, which was the most surprising result, I'd probably say, of last week. Jameis Winston threw 5 touchdowns for only 151 yards. Actually, I think every fourth throw he did was a touchdown, which is pretty impressive numbers. And their defense looks strong with a couple sacks and interceptions. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Saints can keep up their quick start to the season against a team that are probably going to be in better shape than the Packers were last week. The big matchup for me will be the Saints passing game against the Panthers secondary. Both groups were effective in their last games, and it'll be interesting to see if Sean Payton tries to use Jameis Winston a little more than he did last week. So for me, that's sort of what we're going to look out for. With this game, it is a close one. I was really umming and ahhing. However, I am going to back the Saints, and I'm going to back them to win by 5.
Great.
I've gone Saints on this one. Sorry, I was just looking it up. I've gone Saints by this one by 5.
See, I just think, I'll get to the Packers at the end, but it could have just been a freak game. There was a couple of injuries to the Saints, and there's something about the Panthers that I think it's a home game, it's divisional, they're going to be fighting. I think the Panthers are going to take it by 2. I've got a hunch.
Would quite like to see that. I do like the Panthers, and as I say, Darnold looked a lot more at home, so it's a possibility.
The other dangerous side, I just think that Saints team, that defense still looks very, very good. I think that was also to an extent maybe made to look a bit better because Rodgers had such a bad game, but they showed that they're still good. And then Kamara just looked on form.
Kamara's so good.
Yeah, he looks like he's really on form at the moment.
Right, Craig, your next game, you've got a very old school matchup, Raiders at Steelers.
Yeah, so the Steelers won 23-16 against the Buffalo Bills in a game that was like a strange game of 2 halves. Steelers were fairly quiet in the first half with all of the drives stalling out and not putting up any points. But they did come back strong in the second half with Big Ben leading the charge, and their offense pulled off 4 back-to-back scoring drives in the second part of the game, which I think sort of stunned the Bills a bit. Talking of stunners, the Raiders, they won 33-27 against my Ravens on Monday. And to be honest, what couldn't have been a more entertaining game to start the 2021 campaign? Clinching the win in overtime. Raiders defense came up good, and Derek Carr won it for the Raiders in the end. I really wanted to pick the Raiders for this one, but after their overtime win in week 1, I think it's going to be really tough for them. They're already playing on a short week, and they've now got to travel to the East Coast to play in an early kickoff game. That's pretty crappy schedule break for them, and not to mention they have lost multiple starters already after the first week, including Denzel Good, Gerald McCoy, who we mentioned earlier, and Yannick Ngakoue. Carr could be in big trouble without both starting veteran both of his offensive guards. Cam Haywood also had a pretty good week 1 for the Steelers. He had 10 pressures. last week against a more veteran O-line of the Bills, with the Steelers going back home and playing in front of a full crowd. I can see them looking to take full advantage of that in this one. Like Pittsburgh are also the healthier side at the moment, and I don't think I'll have that problem winning up front. The pass rush of the Steelers should definitely give them the edge in this one. So I've got them taking this one. Some key matches in this one, just quickly to go over. I've got Alex Leatherwood going up against TJ Watt. Leatherwood struggled in his first start, and he's going up against arguably one of the best, if not the best, edge rusher in the league. So the Raiders are definitely going to need to help him out there if they're going to have any sort of success on offense. You've got Darren Waller going up against Minkah Fitzpatrick. Waller 19 targets last week, so you can expect the Steelers to throw double teams on him all day, because I think he's definitely one of the main targets for Carr. And then I've also got Okafor against Max Crosby. Crosby won Defensive Player of the Week last week for the AFC. He had 10 pressures himself and 2 sacks. So it's whether he can sort of repeat that kind of performance going up against Big Ben. I've got Steelers by 10.
Yeah, Raiders look good, but the Steelers, like, the second half, they beat the Bills. So I'm gonna take Steelers by 14.
Yeah, the Raiders are fun. That's the kind of team they look. They're going to be a fun team this year. But I think the coaching of the Steelers may just outdo them, especially that you mentioned that defense. So I've got the Steelers to win this slightly by 6.
I wonder how much that home field advantage matters for the Raiders, because they beat the Chiefs there last season as well, I think.
Yeah, the Raiders beat 1 or 2 top tier teams this season just to shake up the league.
Yeah, so you don't know if the Death Star is just a tough place to go and play.
It looked amazing.
Yeah, it did. Well, full crowd and everything. It looked like it was really sort of popping off there.
Yeah, but Steelers are one of the scarier home stadiums, especially a season opener. Righto, my next game. 49ers at the Eagles. So we'll talk about 49ers first. So they come to play in Philadelphia for their season home opener, off a squeaky bum time game against the new Dan Campbell era Lions. Shanahan mixed a bit of Trey Lance into the game. He got a touchdown. Deebo Samuel got 189 yards. And they had I think he was undrafted or a 6th-round pick, Mitchell. He got over 100 yards. I mean, that offense, you could literally just plonk in a running back and they're going to go over 100 yards fairly easily. Defensively for the Niners, I mean, they kept the Lions quiet up until the fourth quarter, where they got 16 of their 33 points. But rest of the game, they were solid. That last quarter was unreal, though. It was so fun to watch. The Lions just trying to kill the 49ers. In this game, expect the Niners to be using George Kittle a lot against the Eagles linebackers, who aren't particularly proven. We'll see Shanahan check the Eagles' fundamentals, because obviously they've got a lot of yak and rack players catching run yards after the catch and the run. So our new defensive coordinator, JG, he's really emphasized training the fundamentals. So I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup. Philadelphia obviously comes off a pounding of the Atlanta Falcons. I can't tell you how nice it was just to watch a game without stressing. Like we just had a functioning offense and a functioning defense, and it was so stress-free. But yeah, we've got a really good O-line to go against the 49ers, really good D-line. Really cool matchup here. I think it's going to be extended Aussie Jordan Mailata, who's just signed a 4-year extension. He's going up against Nick Bosa. So that's going to be a really fun matchup, because all signs point to Mailata being he's just an athletic specimen, but he's raw. And obviously Nick Bosa is one of the best rushers in the league right now. Philadelphia do gain an advantage with the loss of Jason Verrett out of the Niners secondary. He's a solid player, really solid player. So that's going to hurt. And so I think we're going to see more of Jalen Hurts passing. He had the lowest average pass this week, like 3.9 yards on average. They were really short screen passes and slants and stuff. But I think we're going to see more deep passes against this as the pressure is ramped up with the 49ers. Yeah, it was an outstanding performance for the Eagles. Admittedly, it was against the Falcons defense, which there's a similar thing to the Broncos and Giants. You don't know which one's better and which one's worse. That being said, I've figured out my plan for the Eagles, and I'm going to take them by 1, because I think the Niners they're on the East Coast still. They're a West Coast team, early game. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, man, it's going to be a test.
I've gone the other way. I've gone 49ers by 5. Eagles did look good. Pleasantly surprised me. I was hoping that they were going to be okay. They've definitely looked like they've improved on last year. 49ers did give up a big lead against the Lions, but I think I just have a little bit more faith, I guess, in the 49ers at the moment. I think I still need a little bit more from the Eagles before I start filling myself with confidence.
We're still changing minds.
They let me down so much last year, mate. I picked them so often.
So did Dave. So did I, mate.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the Eagles. And I tell you what, there's probably about 7 teams that the Eagles, if they were matched up with 7 teams and 49ers are one of those 7 teams, I would have the Eagles to lose. If it was any of the other teams, I'd have the Eagles to win. I just think the 49ers are that class above. I think it's going to be a good game. The Eagles are going to run them close, but I just don't know. I don't think the 49ers will make the same mistakes they did against the Lions again. I think they're going to be well drilled. And yeah, I've got the 49ers to win this by 4.
It's okay. I've got Kittle on my fantasy team, so I'm playing both sides.
There you go.
Joe, your next game, you had the Rams going to Indianapolis.
Yeah, so the Rams coming off a big win on Sunday Night Football against the Bears, where Matt Stafford settled into LA life rather easily. He looked very, very good. On the other hand, the Colts, they were unfortunately beaten rather easily by the Seahawks. However, Carson Wentz had a fairly okay start, even if a lot of his passes were short ones to his running backs. The Colts, they're going to need to improve drastically in this game. It's against another NFC West team, and I believe that this NFC West team and the Rams are better than the Seahawks. This Rams defense, it can be brutal. We know that. And they're going to be looking to add more sacks to that 3 that Wentz received last weekend. The Colts O-line, it needs to be better. Although it is tough when Quentin Nelson is questionable for this game and Eric Fisher is still out. So for me, that is literally where it is. The Colts, they're going to need to keep themselves in the game because they know that Rams offense is now pretty electric with Matt Stafford, and that defense is top 3 defense in the league. So that O-line is going to have to step up their game and keep their offense in the match. Otherwise, this could be quite a nasty result for the Colts. Saying all that, I have got the Rams to win this. I've got them to win by 9.
I've gone Rams by 7. Yeah, like you said, Rams look good. I've not really got much else to add to that at the moment.
Yeah, and until the Rams start getting a couple of holes in there, I can't see him losing to many teams. I've gone winning by 12. Craig, your next game is the surprising Texans against the Browns.
Yeah, so who'd have thought it, lads? The Texans were not unwatchable. Who's seen that coming? At least they went last week anyway. There could be hope for Houston yet. They surprised everyone by beating the Jags, I think, 37-21. While Deshaun Watson sat out due to off-the-field issues, Tyrod Taylor filled in and did a pretty decent job, throwing 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. He actually looked like a starting NFL quarterback, and the Houston defense did force a few turnovers. They look like a team that was ready to go, but it was against a rookie QB making his NFL debut and a head coach who was also making his NFL debut. So I wouldn't go overboard with that, but at the same time, I think they still surprised a lot of people, and they've put maybe a little bit of hope for the Texans fans there. Houston's offense, like I said, they had 0 turnovers, while the defense did pick up 3 of their own, intercepting Trevor Lawrence 3 times. Texans, they were heavy underdogs going into this game, but they picked up the win pretty comfortably, pretty easily in the end. Again, with a surprisingly effective offense that I don't think a lot of people seen coming. Cleveland, on the other hand, they looked strong all game against Kansas City last week. There's no reason to expect that the Browns will come out of this game without the win. I think Cleveland's running game, Chubb and Hunt, or Chunt, as Adam likes to say, you'd expect to roll over this Houston defense. And Mayfield, I don't think will be making the same mistakes twice. The Browns, they'll be looking to have a big showing in their home opener to prove that they can still play with the big dogs, no pun intended, after taking a narrow loss there to the AFC champion Chiefs. Baker Mayfield, he managed the offense well enough, but he failed to pick up the win. Browns were up by 12 points at halftime, but KC just managed to storm their way back, and Mahomes managed to do Mahomes things, and they picked up the win in the end, outscoring Cleveland 23-7, and ultimately winning by 4 points. Houston offense, I don't know. I don't think it can keep up. I've got Browns by 14.
Yeah, Browns are like, they're one of the few teams that even though they lost, they just showed how good they were anyway. But yeah, I've got the Browns taking it by 21.
Yeah, the Browns lost their first game in last season, and that didn't affect them too badly. So I've got the Browns to win by 10.
Right. So my next game, speaking of the Jags, I've got the Broncos playing the Jags. So the Broncos will be happy coming into this game. Solid performance defensively, and they are looking to get Bradley Chubb on the field. So the dangerous get more dangerous. Offensively, the loss of Jerry Jeudy does hurt him. He is their best receiver. But Cortland Sutton's a very solid wide receiver too. He can step into that one role for a bit. And they have that, is it KJ Hamler, I think his name is, who's just that, he did drop an absolute go-ahead ball, but he is a very good deep threat for Teddy. But Teddy on this offense, he spread the ball about, he hit 9 different targets on the whole game. So it's things you like to see. The Jags come from an embarrassment of a game, really. Obviously, you can't judge a rookie quarterback, especially a highly touted one, on their debut. I think it was Andrew Luck, or it was another highly touted kind of NFL rookie came in. He threw 3 interceptions on his debut, as did Trevor Lawrence. His stat line was 28 completions, 51 passes, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 ints. The touchdowns he did throw, they were really good. There was one really nice deep ball to DJ Chark, but some of the interceptions were also not good. But it's really set the media onto Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer, who are like these people that are just used to success and winning and being at the top. And it's going to be interesting because it's really going to start challenging the locker room. And because the reports just say that Urban Meyer is a bit of a baby that'll throw his toys out of his pram if he's not getting his way. He's already refusing to speak to other teams' media when apparently he had to, because he just can't be asked. But it's going to be interesting. Vic Fangio will try and shut down Trevor Lawrence again, and I don't doubt he's going to succeed it. The Jags' offensive line is not very good, and the Broncos have a very good defense. It's going to make Trevor Lawrence more mistakes. I just don't think that the kind of mediocre offense is going to stop Teddy's very efficient, kind of methodical down the field. I'm quite high on the Broncos right now. I've got Broncos by 9.
Yeah, Broncos, just one of these teams that's sort of one of the big surprising teams from week 1. And yeah, Teddy Bridgewater, I'm a big fan. When Teddy Bridgewater is playing, he's one of the most enjoyable quarterbacks to watch. I'm with you. I'm not high on the Jags at all. I think if you lose to the Texans, you're in trouble. So I've got the Broncos to win by 7.
I felt that.
I did originally have the Jags down by 3. I don't know. I've kind of only done it just to be different. I'm not going to lie, because I'm behind a little bit.
There's better games.
I wouldn't take the Jags.
I mean, he did throw 3 interceptions, but he also did throw 3 touchdowns. But I guess I don't know, Broncos defense, I guess, is better.
Ronald Darby is out he's on the short-term IR with a quad strain, I think it was, or a hamstring or something.
You know what? No, I'm going to stick with the Jags by 3. Why not? I'm going to I'll represent the Jags. I'm already behind, so if I don't start making some moves, it's just.
You're only 3 points behind me. I wouldn't worry yet.
Yeah, go on. I'm going to go Jags. Where stranger things have happened.
Right, Joe, you've got You got your old Patriots going to your best friends, the Jets.
Yeah, this is my favorite game of the year away at the Jets. So looking back at last week, Mac Jones, I've been hyping him for weeks and months, and he's shown exactly what he can do in his first NFL start. I thought he was exceptional. How we lost that game, I feel like I'll never know how we lost that game, but I also do know how we lost that game. Our defense was poor in big moments, and it really cost us, which is a shame. I thought our offense did really well. Apart from his fumble at the end, Harris was having an excellent game. I feel quite bad for Ramondre Stevenson, who had one carry and fumbled it in the first quarter and didn't really take the field after that. I think he got a bit of the hairdryer treatment from Bill, but yeah, it is what it is. It's a shame we lost that game, but so many positives to go forward. It's fine. We can lose it. So the Jets on their half, they lost their first game of the season, as I mentioned earlier, to the Panthers. As we mentioned in the news, unfortunately, they've lost Becton for 4 to 6 weeks after he dislocated his kneecap, but it did look a lot worse originally. So it's weirdly come out in a positive light for the Jets there. And well, Zach Wilson, I thought he was impressive. I quite enjoyed watching him. He made a really, really nice touchdown throw from quite a distance as well. I think as a Jets fans, if you're watching that, you've got to be optimistic. I just think he hit the ground running, and you've got two rookie quarterbacks who everyone's pretty high on at the moment going up against each other. So this game, I think, is going to be, when you see Pats Jets, you don't think, good game, but I think this one really could be a bit of a sleeper. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Pats deal with Zach Wilson. We know that Belichick has a fantastic record versus rookie QBs. However, how many times has he done it with a rookie QB? So that's going to be the difference. Who want to continue that on Sunday? For me, it is just the quarterback battle. This is what I want to see. I want to see these two rookie QBs. I want to see number 2 pick against the number 15 pick and just see how they go. I am confident we are going to win this. I just think overall our roster is better. We've got better defense than them, and we've got better offense than them as well, which is quite handy when it comes to an NFL game. So I've got the Patriots to win this by 10.
Did you know Tua is the youngest quarterback to win away at Foxborough?
I did not. That is interesting.
Brady's kept them all out so far, but
mental.
The gates have now fallen.
A little bit.
Yeah. You're saying that game doesn't matter. I think later on in the season, that game will very much matter. A 1-point divisional game away.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true. But
for me, I watched that entire game and it was a good game.
It was a good game. It was quite a quick game as well.
Yeah, it was
just positive. There was just a lot of positives for me, and Cam Newton wouldn't have done what Mac Jones did that game. We would have lost that game by a lot more if Cam Newton was quarterback.
And as a Corey Davis fantasy owner, very, very pleased with that. It pushed me over the edge against Kelsey. But yeah, I think too many injuries on the Jets. It's a hard life being a Jets fan. I couldn't do it. But I've got the Pats taking it by 14.
I did have the Pats taking this by 5. I've just upped it a little bit to 8 because the more I think about it, they do have a much better offensive line. And I think you do have a much better defense, which I think is going to be the deciding factor in this game.
The better offense or the better defense?
Well, no, they have the better offensive line. I don't know if I was supposed to. I think
receiver-wise, the Jets definitely have the advantage.
Yeah, but I think the Patriots O-line, I think that they're going to win it in the trenches. That's where it's won or lost, and they've proven that they've got an offensive line that can get really stuck in, and they don't even have to rely on Mac Jones too much. They can just run it all the way if they needed to. But I think, I don't know, there's no denying that defense was already good and it's gotten better, I think, this year. Yeah, I'm going Patriots by 8.
Right. Craig, the other AFC East game, you've got the Bills and the Dolphins.
Yeah, so it's a week 2 divisional matchup that I think could hold a ton of weight. They got the Dolphins, who were the only team in the division to win their opener, defeating the Pats 17-16 on the road in a pretty close one, while the Bills, as I talked about earlier, lost to the Steelers Bills are a pretty drastic change, I guess, for the Dolphins compared to what they played against last week. Coming off against a bit more of a conservative sort of run New England based attack from a rookie QB. They didn't really have to field the deep ball too much, I think, going up against New England. Whereas this time, I think it's something that they're definitely going to have to sort of keep in the back of their mind and be a lot more sort of be a bit more scared of, because it's a pretty potent Buffalo attack. They might have struggled last week, but they were going up against one of the top defense in the league. The Bills outgained the Steelers 371 to 252 in terms of total yards, and they dominated the football for nearly 80 plays. But it was big sacks and a block point and a key takeaway from the Pittsburgh defense that I think kept Allen and that Bills offense from running away with the game in the second half. Now, Miami do have a sound defense as well. Don't get me wrong, but it's a bit more of a different type of defense to the Steelers. It's more high risk, high reward defense to create game changing plays, but it also risks giving up a lot of big home run plays at the same time. The Dolphins, they allowed 51 passing plays of 20 or plus yards last season, which was the fifth most. And they also tied first with 12 for 40 plus passes given up. So it sort of just backs up what I was saying there. Allen, he destroyed the Dolphins both times last season. He only ended up playing for 3 halves last season and still beat them. Missing out the second half of the final game of the season. He boasted a passer rating of 136.7 with 639 yards, 7 touchdowns, and just 1 int in the 2 games against Miami last season. They could get roughed up a bit, I think, on the ground as well, after allowing New England to run up at 125 yards on 30 carries, which really killed their time of possession, I think, as well. The defensive line, they gave up bigger runs and they weren't able to generate much pressure up front. So I think if Devin Singletary can pick up some gains early on, it would set the Bills up nicely for that sort of run play action style that really sort of fueled them last season. So I've gone Bills by 10.
I think it'll be closer. I think the Bills are going to regress a little bit. I think their offensive line's shown it's a little bit weaker, and maybe I think Cole Beasley's getting enough flack and he didn't have a very good game. And I don't know, the Dolphins look good. I've still got the Bills winning, but by 3.
I think the Bills are going to be really pissed off about last week, and I just have a feeling that they're just going to come out all guns blazing, and we're going to see the Bills of last year. It's just a feeling I've got. I know last week wasn't much to go on, but we know they've got talent, and surely it's going to come out. And this is quite a big week in an AFC matchup. So I've got the Bills by 12.
Yeah, I think last week they definitely lost and handed the game to the Steelers.
Totally. That block punt that's what killed them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was brutal. Okay, on to my next game. It's quite a short one. Falcons at Buccaneers.
Okay. Enough said. Next game.
So Falcons come off a pretty brutal loss against the Eagles offense, which it's a bit hard to say if they're a really great offense or they just kind of stacked on a pretty weak defense. They started off strong. The offense showed it has the ability to move the chains, did a really good high tempo plays for the first 2 drives, made to the red zone each time. But yeah, not too much to really talk about. The Buccaneers are just literally at every single facet of the game better. I mean, they've literally just got a Super Bowl team. The Falcons, I think, are going to keep it closer because it is a divisional game, and typically the NFC South games they're either really one-sided or they're a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I mean, the offensive line on the Falcons they've got a rookie starting at left guard, and he just got bullied by us. And now he's going up against Vita Vea, who is right now just in the prime of his life and eating people alive. And it's going to be horrendous. I honestly think they might take Matt Ryan off just to keep him safe for a bit because he's going to get eaten. The Buccaneers offense, you've got Gronk, who's feeling great. You've got AB, who's feeling great. You've got, what's his name? Godwin, who's feeling great, and Mike Evans. Like, it is just such an unfair team. And if you're not at least able to stop something defensively or put it on them offensively, you're not really going to have a chance. And yeah, I've got the Bucks taking just this one, but I think it goes to 24 and they're just going to run the game out.
Yeah, I've gone Bucks by 21. I can see it going the same way and them sort of just giving the Falcons a bit of a slapping, to be honest. But then, I don't know. Who knows? The Falcons could show up and surprise us all.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this could be the biggest winning margin of the season. The Bucks have carried on where they were last year on offensively, and the Falcons were just so bad last week. So I've kind of gone quite conservative compared to you two. I've gone Bucks by 17, but I think it could be more.
Yes, that Bucks team. I mean, they put it on the Cowboys, who had a great offense, and the defense was improved. But man, like if they can't target and AB was just so good that game. You just thinking like, oh, where's this AB been for 2-3 years? And Gronk, I think there was a comment on Gronk. He was like, yeah, I'm feeling great. It's all just instincts and muscle memory now. You're just like, God damn it, they've got all of the people back.
Sorry, speaking of Gronk, did you see that new Gronk advert for this year?
No.
I don't know if he's using Game Pass, if you're watching Sky or whatever, but I use Game Pass myself, so you get the American ads. And he's on a new ad for USAA car insurance. And he rings them up and he's like, sort of this, that, and the other. And it's an insurance that's made just for soldiers. And they're like, oh, sorry, it's made just for soldiers, sort of. Yeah, you're not entitled to the special rate. And he's like, but I'm special. Yeah, it was a pretty funny ad.
Yeah, that's probably the most assured game right now.
Yeah.
Joe, you've got what could be a good matchup, Titans and Seahawks.
Yeah, so Titans Seahawks, as you say, could be a good one. Titans come into this after a seriously disappointing week one crushing by the Cardinals. Their O-line was absolutely battered in this game. Wide receivers didn't get going, and their secondary was a real issue. Just allowing Cardinals wide receivers just free all over the place. Hopkins had an absolute field day, and he probably won't have much easier games this year. The Hawks, they beat the Colts, as I mentioned earlier last week, in a classic Seahawks game, really, where Lockett and Metcalf were on the score sheet. Russ threw 4 touchdowns, and Chris Carson ran nearly 100 yards. Literally, if you look generic Seahawks win, there you go. Their defense was also surprisingly good, and they've looked like they've taken a massive leap from last year, which is good for them because their defense did let them down in some pretty big games last year. The matchup for me are the two surprising elements that have come from last week's game. That poor Titans O-line allowed Tannehill to be sacked 6 times in that solid Seahawks D-line will want to get at him again. The Seahawks like to start the season well, and I'm backing them to continue that this week. If this was before the season, I think I probably would have had the Titans to win, but after last week and what I've seen, I'm gonna back the old Seahawks. So I've got the Seahawks to win this by 7.
Exactly what you've said. If it was the beginning of the week, I'd take the Titans, but the Seahawks looked good and the Titans did not.
Yeah.
Titans definitely could win it if they kind of right the ship fast, but yeah, Seahawks by 4.
Yeah, I have gone the other way. I've gone Titans by 4. I don't know. Like, this is a good Titans side, and theoretically they should be better. So they were up against a really good Cardinals team. I understand that they're going up against a good Hawks defense, and Russell Wilson, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't really want to overreact just yet about the Titans. So I had them pretty high in my predictions and stuff like that. I'm still going to back them at the moment. So I'm going Titans by 4.
It's a very level-headed approach. It's not like us.
No.
Craig, what's your next game then?
My next game is Bengals at Bears. Now, I know what everyone's thinking. I think after last week, everyone's expecting me to be like, oh, the Bengals. But no, I'm doing an Adam, okay? I'm going the opposite way, and I'm going with the Bears. Hear me out. I do have some points before everyone starts like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, Joe Burrow. Right. Okay, so the Bears may have been beaten by 20 points on Sunday Night Football, okay? And but it didn't feel that way. If you've watched the game, it wasn't as bad as the score sort of showed. In fact, Chicago would have been leading by halftime if it weren't for a bad interception in the end zone for Andy Dalton. The Bears hung with the Rams for the majority of the game. We were a lot of people's top pick for the NFC this year. So you're talking about a very good Rams team. And there were some positives to take from that game. Dalton, he wasn't great, but he also wasn't bad. We got to see just how dangerous Justin Fields can be with the football, and you mix that in with like a solid running game from Montgomery, and you've got a good receiver there in the shape of Allen Robinson, and I think you've got a bit of substance there, a bit of something there. Cincinnati, they're no Rams. Let's just get that straight, especially on that defense. And it's quite a young Bengals team. The Bengals they were sort of allowed to just uncross their fingers and exhale a sigh of relief, I think, a little bit with Burrow looking strong after last year's season-ending injury. Sorry, to say the Bengals were lucky to win that would be unfair to Burrow's sort of great effort that he put in. But at the same time, they did dance with the devil a few times and during that game, and they did have, in my opinion, what was a lucky escape. Firstly, the Bengals blew a 21-7 third quarter lead and allowed 351 yards passing to Kirk Cousins and that offense. Secondly, Zach Taylor rolled the dice on 4th down 3 times, converted 2 of those into plays, including a key gamble in overtime. And thirdly, Taylor wouldn't have had to go for it so often, and Cincinnati didn't finish 3 of 14 on 3rd downs for the day, which isn't exactly impressive numbers. I'm thinking after the disappointing performance from Chicago's defense that they turn up the intensity a little bit despite being in a new system. Especially if their nose tackle, Eddie Goldman, can return after missing last week, which is a big part of their offense. He's one of the anchors of that defense. And I think the studying the film from LA should really save them well. Taylor was an assistant on the Rams head coach, Sean McVay, and the Bears defense could see the Bengals attempt to do some of the same sort of offense that the Rams run. I think a hungry Dalton squaring up against a former team of his and a few more touching for Fields, who did look dangerous, and this could be an ugly one. But for the two of them, ugly battle, I've got Bears by 3.
I think you might be. It's that defense, like the Bengals could get. I mean, the Bears left tackle, I think they're down to their 4th. They're not a right string who's playing their left tackle now. It's going to be on the trench, because if Mack can just hit Burrow enough, easy win for the Bears. But if the Bengals can just shred that O-line, which they very well could do because it's not good. Oh, Joe, you speak.
Yeah, listening to this, I think I might have got carried away with my prediction. I've got the Bengals by 16.
I saw both of your results and I thought, you know what, I'm going to dig a little deeper in this because I've got a feeling.
I may be a bit overhyped on the Bengals, that's true, but I honestly think the Bears are really shit. As in, I honestly think they could potentially be a 2 or 3 win team. I think they're that bad.
The Bears are being completely exposed. Matt Nagy is not good.
No, not at all. And
Taylor's not very good either.
And I don't know if Justin Fields is going to be the prayer to their answers right now. I think they need a lot more than that. And I'm just really not high. And for some reason, I just think that the Bengals could run. I think Joe Burrow could run riot at some point. I don't really know why. It's just a hunch. So yeah, Bengals by 16.
I'll stick with my hunch. I'll take the Bengals by 6.
Okay, I'm happy to lone wolf this one. Like I said, the Bears were playing the Rams. Okay, you've got to take that into account.
It's true.
Yeah, didn't like one of the they lost a touchdown because one of the second defensive backs just forgot to touch someone down. Like that's not the Bears defense of old.
Okay.
Right. What's my next game I've got? I've got the Chiefs at the Ravens. So normally this would be the first game one of us would draft, but there's a telling sign that this was the last game that we picked. So the Chiefs, as Craig said, they edged the Browns. Excellent plays by the Chiefs, and the Browns did have a kind of a small collapse on their own end of the field, which is why they lost. But yeah, Mahomes threw for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. Classic performance. 197 yards of those with a Hill. So RIP those two who had to play him in fantasy. Kelsey had him against me, nearly 40 points. But yeah, literally one of the plays, Mahomes was scrambling, didn't really know where to go, so he just hurled it downfield. And of course, who else? He'll just caught it for like 75 yards. The Ravens obviously come off a very entertaining game, but I think everyone thought the Ravens were going to go into that and win. But in fairness, it does follow that brutal trail of injuries you've suffered. Offensively, your line was not good. Villanueva, he looked. I think he had the worst tackle rate. Like
he struggled, especially a tackle. Yeah. Both our tackles really struggled in that game against the edge pressure.
Who's your other?
Ronnie Stanley.
Wasn't expecting him to struggle.
Behind me.
Yeah, like I saw all the Steelers fan code, like we told you Villanueva's no good. But yeah, that hopefully he takes a step up. But Chris Jones is really going to put the pressure on Lamar. He had a really good game. Sammy Watkins for the Ravens did have a good game in the air. And I think the problem is when you look at the stat sheet, obviously Lamar's going to run. That's how he plays. But when he's at the top of your running board, that's when you're like, hopefully he's not playing hero ball and trying
to stop fumbling. It's the fumbles that killed us.
Yeah. So I think when Lamar's on the top of your rushing board, that's when you need to think about it. Obviously, defensively, losing Marcus Peters is quite an impact. He's obviously very cerebral as a player. He leads the secondary. We were talking about that before, Craig. And obviously, against an offense like Patrick Mahomes', you need every little bit you can get. I think it's going to be... I want to say it's going to be close because it is two good teams playing each other, but just personnel-wise and injury-wise, the Chiefs are steps ahead right now. So I've gone overboard just because the Chiefs can put it on you, but I've gone with the Chiefs by 17.
I've also gone Chiefs in this game. I've gone Chiefs by 10. I'd like to believe we can do it. I just think we're too banged up at the moment to do it. If we were at full strength, I'd probably have picked us. I think the one saving grace we have in this game is that Chiefs defense is not very good against the run. It's built a lot more for the pass. But that being said, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be a rough watch for me on Sunday.
Is it a primetime game as well?
It's Sunday night game, yeah.
Yeah, my admiration actually for Lamar Jackson is shot up in like the last game. You said he had the fumbles, but I thought some of the plays that he was just trying to create because he had absolutely nothing to work with. I love. There was actually a stat. He was pressured on 54% of plays. Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl was pressured on 52%. So it shows you he was actually pressured more than Mahomes was, and everyone was talking about how Mahomes had such a hard time in that Super Bowl. I thought Lamar did well for what he had, and that touchdown throw to I think it was to Hollywood, wasn't it, when he was just running? Yeah, it was brilliant. This game, I think the fact that it's in Baltimore on a Sunday night does benefit the Ravens a lot more when it comes to this matchup. I think they can feed off the crowd. Harbaugh he'll be smart with knowing he hasn't got much personnel. The problem is it's the Chiefs, a very strong Kansas City Chiefs team. So I have got the Chiefs to win, but I think it will be a bit closer. I've got Chiefs by 6.
If we're going to win this game, we need to hold the ball and run it as much as possible. Yeah, keep that offense off the field and try and keep the score, because they're going to score points. Keep the score close enough that Tucker can come out at the end and do his thing like he did last time.
If you guys have got an advantage, it's definitely kicking, because Justin Tucker's handled the heaviness.
Yeah.
Joe, you've got what could be a very good game.
Yeah, this was the first, I think I was number 1 for the draft, and it's the first game I picked. This is two of the more exciting teams in the league, the Cowboys at the Chargers. The Cowboys, you watched the Thursday night game, the season opener. They were unfortunate, really, to pick up a loss in their first game of the season versus the Bucs. However, if you give Tom Brady the ball with just over a minute left, it's your own fault. Dak looked brilliant on his return, throwing over 400 yards, which is great news if you're a Cowboys fan. Dan Quinn has already made an impact as the Dallas defense, which was useless, absolutely useless last year, did cause the Bucs a few problems. A big downside, however, it's clear there is a big decline of Ezekiel Elliott, and last year he wasn't at his very best. And this first game, it looked like he was even worse. I know it's one game, there isn't much to go off, but if last season I felt like he was getting worse and worse and worse, and he he sucked. Poor. I feel bad for him. He just doesn't look as nimble, doesn't look as powerful, and I think that could be a big issue for the Cowboys. He's not trending in the right direction. The Cowboys, they squeezed out a win against Washington in a game which they probably would have lost in the last year or two. It was a very Chargers losing kind of game, but they managed to turn it around. Herbert wasn't at his brilliant best, but he made important throws in important moments, and that's what the Chargers needed out of him. Keenan Allen, was very key in supporting his QB. He made some great catches and kept the Chargers alive in that game. It's obvious the Chargers were glad to have Derwin James back as at safety. He made numerous vital tackles for them. He's going to be busy this week, and this is where the matchup is for me. We saw the Bucs cornerback struggle against the Cowboys wide receivers. So Harris, Davis, and James himself, they will have to be on top form to try to stop this overwhelming offense. Of course, Gallup isn't going to be there, but when you still got Cooper, you still got CeeDee Lamb, it's not easy to defend against. This, I think, will be a fairly tight game, and it's going to be very exciting. I have got the Cowboys to win, however, by 6.
Now, I don't do this often, but I will defend one Cowboys player. They had to pass a lot in that game. I think Zeke had like 10 rushes overall, and he had to do it. He was one against Vita Vea, who is, like I said, just eating people and eats the rush. And he was doing a lot of good pass blocking. So whilst I do think they overpay him and he's not the best running back, it's a little unfair off that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got the Chargers to beat him by 2.
I've gone Cowboys by 4. I think it's a toss-up, to be honest. I think I get what you were saying about Keenan Allen. I think that pairing him up with Herbert, it's a really nice combination. You've got that old, really consistent. Well, he's not old, but he's got that like veteran, really consistent receiver with that young rookie QB who can really throw the ball about. But yeah, I don't know. I think Dak looks good since coming back, and he looks hungry. You've got so many weapons for him to throw to on that offense. Cowboys by 4. I think it could be a bit of a shootout, this one.
Okay. Craig, your final game, you got the Vikings going to Arizona.
Yeah, so I'll try and keep this one quick. One of the most impressive wins of week 1 was the Cardinals. They dominated the Titans in the trenches, and Murray had one of the best games of his career. Vikings, they're coming off a tough overtime loss. They had 116 penalty yards and a key fumble in overtime, which gave the game to the Bengals. As I was saying, what?
Wasn't a fumble, though. Clearly wasn't.
While it seems easy to just take the Cardinals after their performance, the Vikings aren't as bad as they showed in week 1. Like I said, a number of penalties and miscues made that game a lot closer than it should have been, in my opinion. And the Vikings could have the potential to be a lot better on offense. They do have weapons there. Minnesota's offensive line is a bit of a problem. It's not great. And it's where I don't know if they've got the answers to slow down Chandler Jones and JJ Watt, who both put in great games and great performance. So I'd like to think that this one has the potential to be a close one. Maybe. So key battles in this one, I'll keep it quick. Like I said, Hopkins going up against Patrick Peterson. Their teammates from a year ago, Peterson, he really struggled in week 1, but can he bounce back against the receiver who he practiced a lot against last season? You've got Justin Jefferson going up against Marco Wilson. It's the weakest part of that Cardinals defense. Obviously, Justin Jefferson has proven to be quite good. And, he held up against AJ Brown and Julio Jones last week, but can he do it again this week against Jefferson and Thielen? I guess we'll see. And then you've also got Rashad Hill against Chandler Jones. Jones had 5 sacks on Sunday. Can the Vikings sort of put together a plan that's going to help Hill out on every snap going up against Chandler Jones this weekend? I can see the Vikings trying to establish the run early on this one and to try and keep the Cards offense off the field. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think I see this one being as big as a blowout as some might think, and it can be maybe a little bit closer. I've got Cards by 4.
Yeah. Dalvin Cook's definitely, they've got a good offense, but they're just not playing good games. and the Cardinals would look on form, so I'll give it to the Cardinals by 10.
Yeah, I was impressed by the Cardinals. I wasn't expecting them to be that. I wasn't expecting Kyler Murray to be that good on week 1. And yeah, I'm high on them now, so I'm going Cardinals to win by 10.
And for my final game, should only be a quick one, Lions at the Packers. So whilst the Lions did lose this game, the culture that you kind of felt that was in there, it was they nearly pulled off a very miraculous comeback against a good team. It's got to leave the fans at least feeling excited and a speck of hope in what has been a long history of despair. A fairly balanced offense. The defense has lost a starter in the secondary in Jeff Okudah. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, we mentioned at the beginning, no one knows what's about to come out this week. Is it going to be a revenge game? Has he just kind of faded out and been like, nah, I'm done. I'm going to take the team down with me? Who knows? I personally think it's a bit of a freak game. And I mean, you were saying, Craig, he's been on an island for all of preseason chilling out. So hopefully he's
taking pictures for the gram.
Yeah, I mean, his stat line, 15 completions for 28 attempts, 133 yards and 2 bad interceptions. He has said one of them was because he got a double nut punch, which, if that is the case, fair play. A double nut punch is not a nice thing. But yeah, he got benched for Jordan Love. Obviously, a combination of they'd lost the game already. They don't want to injure him, but Jordan Love came on and made a few plays. I think he had a fumble as well. Defensively, I don't know if not being able to have an interception on LASIK Jameis is an unusual thing, but they didn't. And if Jameis is this star now, okay, maybe he's hard to intercept, but he's the only member of the 30 touchdowns, 30 interception club. You should really be getting an interception or 2 on him in a game. Personally, yeah, like I said, it's a free game, but if Rodgers has stopped caring, it would definitely make the league very interesting. But I mean, a Lions win here would be great for everyone, but I just don't see the Lions letting it happen in a division game. So the Packers doing it. So I've got the Packers just by 3.
I've gone Packers by 14. I don't know. I think after getting such a beating last week and all of the stuff that's going to be in the media and everything else to do with Rodgers this week, I think there's a chance of us seeing a pissed off Rodgers coming back next week and just sort of putting it down on a Lions team that I think was a lot better than I think I expected, sort of coming back against the 49ers. But I don't know. You're talking about a pissed off Rodgers here, and we know how that tends to go.
Aaron Rodgers is trying to destroy the Green Bay Packers from the inside. No, I don't know. That last game it's a freak game, but it was a really bad freak game. And I was weirdly impressed by the Lions. So I'm going to defend the Den, and I'm going to say Lions by 2.
That's bold.
That should be my bold prediction alone.
Lions win.
Yeah.
Speaking of bold predictions, let's fire through them. I have got Chandler Jones going for over 3 sacks to take him up to at least 9 on the season within 2 games.
I've gone for Washington football team Giants to be the lowest combined score of the week.
And I have gone for Joe Burrow to throw 4+ touchdowns.
Jamar Chase, my boy.
Exactly.
But let us know how you guys did if you keep up with the scores. Let us know your bold predictions on all our social medias, on our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Joe, where can they find them?
Yes, so our Twitter and Instagram is at TAFS_UK. If you're watching on YouTube, just above here. And our Facebook is That American Football Show.
Don't forget you can find us on YouTube if you don't already, That American Football Show, or our website, just add .co.uk. We've got a good merch as well. If you go check out our friends at EP Sports. Lockdown Lids, as me and Craig mentioned last time, they've got some really good stuff up there. And if you're a Dolphins fan, they've got like a Waddle and a Tua thing up there. So make sure you head over and check them out. Anything else before we get off, boys?
I finally ordered some merch. I'll be able to sport it soon. I got a hoodie, a hat, and a t-shirt.
Hey.
So but there is a lot of other cool stuff up there, so I'll be able to sport it on camera.
But wherever you're listening from, please leave us feedback. Let us know where you're listening from. We'll get you added to the map. Thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you head over and check out our friends at EP Sports for all your NFL and equipment needs. And we will see you next time.